Are you worried about the pressure that you're getting from your left flank, and is that part of the reason that you've engaged?
No, the bottom line is very simple. We're fighting for the American people. And it's not just one small group of American people that want this. It's across the board. 55% of Trump voters, hardly a flank in our party, want this. That's why we're doing it. We believe that's our job.
Senator, he wants $1.5 trillion added to this for health care. Your reaction?
Well, I listened to the clip of Senator Schumer. His relationship with the truth is very casual. The truth is that this is a political shutdown. Senator Schumer he's nervous as a pregnant nun about losing his reelection to the socialist wing of his party, led by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, which is in control. Now, we will eventually come out of this shutdown. Here's how I think it will happen. Chuck, Senator Schumer, is a smart man. He's been around a long time. His first car was a Chariot. Washington is all he's ever known his entire life. He knows he's on shaky ground here in terms of policy. So here's how I think it'll end. Schumer will go to 6 or 8 of his colleagues and say, Democrats, of course, and say, I want you to vote to lift the shutdown. Now, he'll say, I can't vote with you. I've got to appear to be tough. I may even have to criticize you, but wink, wink, nod, nod. I'm trying to make the loon wing of the party love me, but you bail me out here. But he's got to be careful with that, because he doesn't want it to look like a mutiny, because then he looks even weaker.
Senator John Kennedy is hands down probably one of the most intelligent members to ever walk the halls of Congress. The way he can come up with things reminds me of Ronald Reagan, who could literally project the future of everything in America. We look back on a lot of his quotes today, and he was spot on. Senator Kennedy is the same way. It amazes me how accurate this man actually is. And it drives the left and the Democrats insane. And once again, he was spot on correct. That's exactly what just took place. Schumer went to some of his members and said, I need you to vote to open the government back up. I can't vote with you. I'm going to have to actually even chastise you. But this is what has to happen. And only so to save his own ass, which is not savable at this point, because now the progressive left wing of the Democrat Party is going to run AOC against him and take away his seat. And of course, all the Democrat members of the House and Senate right now are calling for his head. Anyhow, you got a place you can be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Wherever you're watching us tonight, whether it's on the YouTube channel or the Rumble channel or the X channel, please like, subscribe, share it on your social media platforms, and tell your friends and family about the show. That's how we spread this. That's how we continue to grow and get our message out there to all people, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, independent. It doesn't matter. Here at this program, I want to share with you honesty, factual information, and be straight up with you about what's really happening across our country. As Chuck Schumer and his Democrat government shutdown ends, Furious Democrats are eating their own tonight. Progressive liberal Democrat lawmakers call for minority leaders ouster after a 41-day shutdown fails to win concessions and what they call bowed down to Republicans and Trump. By all practical purposes, the Schumer shutdown appears to be ending. And it's about time. It's about damn time. It should have never happened in the first place. By refusing to vote for a clean continuing resolution, which would have kept the government spending at levels they themselves approved earlier, Democrats have held the country hostage for a record-breaking 41 days. They have hurt Americans, angered the unions, allies, and dampened consumer sentiment. For what? What did Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and his Democrat colleagues gain from throwing hundreds of thousands out of work, out of food, endangering American air travelers, causing great hardship and anxiety for those dependent on SNAP benefits, and slowing the growth of the U.S. economy? Absolutely nothing. They did not win an extension of the Obamacare premium subsidies that they wanted. They did not undo the Medicaid reforms that they fought tooth and nail for. And worst of all, for Schumer, the shutdown in no way endeared him to the Democrat socialists who are tearing his party in two. In fact, far from it. Last spring, when Senator Schumer joined with Republicans to keep the government open, he was blasted by progressives in his party who have vowed to resist President Donald Trump at every turn. They were furious that he gave in to the GOP and didn't win any concessions for allowing the government to continue to function. Never mind that polls always show that most Americans want our two political parties to work together to resolve the nation's problems. Never mind that the president was elected by a majority of the U.S. voters. The left, as is, simply won't have it. Democracy be damned. One of Schumer's hardest critics at the time was far-left squad member Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, aka AOC. You know, the bartender who became a member of the Democrat Party in Congress. By the way, that's no slam against bartenders. I love bartenders. Anyone that serves me a drink, you're getting a good tip. Who has hinted she might challenge her party's de facto leader as he approaches re-election in 2028. In April, polling showed that AOC could win that matchup. Today, Schumer is in hot water again. California Representative Ro Khanna, a progressive who represents Silicon Valley, has called for the ousting of Schumer as minority leader. He and other liberals are furious that Schumer failed to keep his party united, instead allowing 8 members of the Senate Democrat caucus to vote for beginning to reopen our government. Schumer is also being attacked for not endorsing Zohran Mamdani, the 34-year-old anti-Semitic, anti-American, liberal, socialist, communist, Muslim sympathizing terrorist, Democrat socialist who was recently elected mayor of New York City. Schumer could not endorse Mamdani without angering his Jewish supporters and without alienating moderate Democrats who are rightly horrified that their party has been hijacked by the far left. Progressive Wisconsin Representative Mark Pocan is calling to replace Schumer, posting on X, "Don't endorse or say who you voted for in New York City despite there being a Democrat candidate. Get Democrat senators to negotiate a terrible deal that does nothing real about health care. Screw over a national political party. Next." Schumer isn't the only Democrat official in the crosshairs of his own party. Progressive New York City Councilman Shai Ozen is apparently set to challenge House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries when the latter is up for re-election next year. Another New York representative, Richie Torres, will face off against yet another anti-Israel progressive, former Bronx Assemblyman Michael Blake. Elsewhere, New York Governor Kathy Hochul is facing a primary challenge from her own leftist lieutenant governor. Meanwhile, as Democrats eat their own, Americans are discovering the truth about Obamacare. Schumer and his Senate colleagues were fighting to prolong the enhanced subsidies established under President Joe Biden that made the ACA health insurance premiums more affordable. Those subsidies were meant to expire at the end of the year. The Democrats put it in the bill that that's exactly what would happen. Obamacare is theirs. They did this under the leadership then of Nancy Pelosi, not Republicans. The Democrats put it in there to expire this year. However, it turns out that the premium costs without the subsidies would skyrocket, putting insurance out of reach for millions of families. The subsidies under consideration were included in the American Rescue Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, both of which passed with 0 Republican votes, though having Democrats blame the GOP for the expiration of those payments is absolutely fucking ridiculous. The truth is that Obamacare, which covers only 7% of Americans and was also passed only with Democrat votes, is a failed program from the start. It was meant to bring the cost of healthcare down, but it never did. Remember Obama saying you could keep your doctor if you liked your doctor? Nope, that didn't happen. Remember Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we have to pass the bill to know what's in the bill? At the time, that was the House leader. Didn't even know what they were passing and what was in Obamacare. It was all set up that millions of young, healthy Americans would be forced to sign up as a result of the individual mandate, a tax penalty which compelled people to have health insurance whether they wanted it or not. The Democrats did that, not the Republicans. The healthcare costs of that young cohort were expected to be low, offset the higher expenses of older and sicker Americans. Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 ended the unpopular individual mandate, thus overturning the underlying method of spreading the cost of insurance over a larger pool of people. As a result, Obamacare increasingly covered individuals whose higher health care costs and premiums rose. Obamacare premiums in general will rise about another 30% over the next year. With the expiration of the enhanced subsidies, some people are going to be hit with premium hikes as much as 50% or more. Democrats are blaming the GOP for creating this healthcare crisis, but that is completely, utterly dishonest. They voted for Obamacare, and they hid its true costs for years, offering ever more generous subsidies. And they voted to allow those subsidies to expire. The cost of continuing those payments would be some $350 billion over the next 10 years. Not including interest payments, the Trump administration wants to find a better path forward. Few Republicans want to tackle overhauling Obamacare because it's broken. Or our convoluted healthcare system, as both have proven in the past to be third-rail political issues. President Trump has proposed giving the billions of dollars that fund Affordable Care Act tax credits directly to Americans instead, rather than funneling those monies to insurencers who jack up the prices. That would presumably give consumers greater choice and better control of their healthcare dollars. That seems a promising approach. But really, it's just the tip of the Obamacare iceberg. And why did the Democrats want this to be part of the deal to open the government? Well, it was simple. Because the way it was worded and put in there under the Biden-Harris administration is that the illegal aliens that they allowed to come into our country and then set free into our country would be considered protected status. And it's written in the bill that protective status would get free medical care, Medicaid and Medicare, just like American citizens. And who are those protective status? Illegal aliens. But yet, the Democrat leadership lies and tries to say that it's illegal in America. It's against the law for illegal aliens to get health care. And it is. But when you put something in a bill that says, quote, protective status for 2 million plus people that came across our border illegally, then you're giving them health care. And the GOP said, not no, but hell no. There will be no negotiation over this. And moderate Democrats, well, let's face it, most of the Democrats in Washington, D.C., in the House and in the Senate, did not want the government shut down over something so damn stupid. Something that, well, this last election proved where the American people overwhelmingly stood. That is against illegal immigration and allowing millions of illegals to come into this country and get our benefits, our taxpayer dollars paying for it. So they voted in a new president, a new House, a new Senate. They won the popular vote, the Electoral College, and every damn swing state. Yet still, no matter that, they put Hankam Jeffries up there to spew his blatant lies over and over and over again. Let's look at just a few of them, shall we?
Why are Republicans continuing to keep the government shut down? They have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Donald Trump just made clear over the weekend repeatedly that Republicans have the ability to reopen this government. They don't want to do it because they'd rather continue to gut the health care of the American people. And here are some questions that need to be asked. Why have House Republicans remained on a taxpayer-funded vacation for the last 6 weeks? They keep canceling votes. They've canceled votes for next week. Of course, they are unserious as it relates to reopening the government. Why has Donald Trump spent more time on the golf course, including this weekend, than he has in talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill who represent half of the country?
You didn't say shit about Joe Biden going on the beach all the fucking time. You didn't say shit about Joe Biden being completely incompetent, mentally unstable to be president of the United States. Literally saying things that did not make any sense whatsoever to anyone that wasn't also mentally ill. And then you continue this bullshit about how Republicans are holding the government hostage, when every single Republican voted for the Clean CR to keep the government open, and every single Democrat voted against it. But yet you double down on stupid and continue to say that it's Republicans that are doing this.
I believe that a Democrat Party embrace of socialism would hurt the party's chance next November.
Given the existential nature of Donald Trump, his policies, his cruelty, his failures, the assault on the economy, the assault on healthcare, the assault on veterans, the assault on farmers, the assault on nutritional assistance, the assault on law-abiding immigrant communities, the assault on the American way of life, the assault on voting rights, the assault on the rule of law, and Donald Trump and Republican assault on democracy itself, that the most significant thing that can be done is for Democrats to take back control of the House of Representatives next year so we can end this national nightmare and begin the process of marching toward a more perfect union. That's why these elections are going to matter. And that's not pillow talk, that's real talk.
Your party did this. The nightmare was the Democrat members of Congress. The American people realize that you're full of shit, Jeffries. But yet, that doesn't stop you from continuing to go out there and spew nonsense.
One of the Trump Republican shutdown, and Republicans in the Senate are preparing in the next day or so to send over a bill to the House of Representatives. If that bill does not decisively address the Republican healthcare crisis, Democrats in the House will strongly oppose it. We need to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits to prevent tens of millions of Americans from experiencing dramatically increased health insurance costs that will prevent them from being able to go see a doctor when they need one. The cost of living in this country is already too high, and the American people have had enough. House Democrats have had enough, and we will continue to hold the line.
You know who's had enough of your shit? The American people, the voters. It is beyond obvious. If you just watch the news media that supports you, CNN has turned against you and has exposed you. Every single day of this shutdown that they've had you on there and other members of the Democrat Party, they've explained in great detail. Stop blaming the Republicans when every one of them voted to keep the government open and every Democrat voted to shut down the government. Do you think he could get any more mentally deranged and come up with more off-the-wall shit that's just completely and utterly not true? Sure he can.
Big night for America and a big night for the Democratic Party. We have smoked these fools all across the country, in Virginia, in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in California, and at all points in between. The American people have had enough with the extremism, enough with the lies, enough with the broken promises. Democrats are going to fight to make life better for the American people, to lower the high cost of living, fix our broken healthcare system, clean up corruption, and push back against this Republican extremism. We're about to end this national nightmare, and together we will continue our country's march toward a more perfect union.
What was he referring to? He was referring to Tuesday's election, last Tuesday, when they elected a communist, anti-American, socialist, terrorist sympathizer to be mayor of New York by a bunch of young people that weren't even born when 9/11 happened to know how radical this motherfucker is and that he doesn't belong there. And who's the majority of the voters in New York City? Registered Democrats. Republicans didn't have a chance. He talked about Pennsylvania. Same thing. Virginia, same thing. California, same thing. And then he claimed that because Democrats won the governorships and the mayorships in these areas, that it proves that things are shifting away from Trump. No, it doesn't. When the majority of the voters are Democrat in those areas, you expect that the Democrat's going to win, not the Republican. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. The man is mentally deranged. Literally. There's something wrong with him and the Democrat leadership as a whole. Now, I'm going to do something a little different tonight. We're going to stay on this topic a little bit. And I'm going to break some shit down for you. And the first thing that Democrats or liberals will ask is, Doug, what makes you qualified to talk trash about the Democrat Party? Not the Democrat voter per se, but the party as a whole and its leadership today. Number one, I'm 63 years old and was born and raised deeply embedded in the Democrat Party in the deep south of Louisiana. 3/4 of my life was wasted belonging to the Democrat Party. I have strong family ties to the Democrat Party. Family members that were members of the House, Senate, and even a governor of the state of Louisiana, all Democrats. I grew up with Democrat values, beliefs, and morals. They were instilled in my DNA. I served our country in the military and in law enforcement under Democrat and Republican presidents. And then with the invention of this thing called the internet and my passion for American and world history, the only damn thing I was good at in school and made straight A's at, other than girls, I was able to learn about the Democrats' deep-rooted history and its purpose, which sadly, most registered Democrats of today have no clue. For instance, the Democrat Party's fact-based, historical, accurate evils defending slavery, fought against the freedom of slaves, controlled the Confederacy during the Civil War, founded and supported the KKK, passed Jim Crow laws which disenfranchises Black Americans, opposed civil rights legislation, as in filibuster the Civil Rights Act of 1964, opposed the Voting Rights of 1965, blocked anti-lynching legislation, contributed the most in American history to the incarceration of Black Americans, founded Planned Parenthood for the sole purpose of eliminating the Black race, one Black baby at a time. Now the liberal Democrats will tell you there was this thing called party realignment or civil rights realignment or Southern strategy or Dixiecrat defection. I'm here to tell you that's 100% not true and it's bullshit. This is the liberal Democrats trying to change the course of history with smoke and mirrors. Don't believe me? Well, here are the facts. Today, the poorest Black communities in America are run by who? Democrat mayors. The cities in America where the black on black crime is an epidemic is run by who? Black Democrat mayors and a few white Democrat mayors. The cities in America with the most black on black crime rates are run by who? If you guess Democrat mayors, you're right. Where we watched on our own television screens the looting, rioting, burning down of buildings all over the country, especially during the George Floyd riots. Antifa and BLM took to the streets and did all this fucking damage. Where'd they do that at? If you guess Democrat-run areas, you're right there with me. The cities in America with the most suppressed and left to defend for themselves is run by who? Democrat mayors. And then former Democrat First Lady and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, that the left and the Democrats worshipped, wrote in her own memoir that she looked up to former Senator Robert Byrd and called him a friend and mentor. Senator Byrd was not only a member of the KKK, but an active recruiter for the Ku Klux Klan. Hillary Clinton wrote that she admired the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, the murderer of black babies. She said, and I quote, "I admire Margaret Sanger enormously," end quote. Former Democrat President LBJ once said, quote, "I'll have them niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years, referring to the handouts the government's going to give them." Friends, when you hear the following list of American desires, which political party comes to mind? Wants a secure border? Wants immigrants to only come to America the legal way? Wants all illegal criminals deported or a minimum sent back to the back of the line? Wants a strong police force supported by our local, state, and federal officials? Wants a strong military? Wants criminals off the street of our cities? Wants DAs and judges to hold criminals accountable for their actions? Wants all gang members jailed or deported? Wants Congress to pass a law that you must have been born in America to run for local, state, or federal positions, just as it is to become president of the United States. Wants an end to all wars and conflicts on planet Earth. Is okay with the National Guard being used to assist law enforcement to police our borders and our cities. Wants Democrat governors and mayors to place American citizens over illegals for any and all local, state, and federal assistance. Wants all illegals removed from our healthcare system. Believes that they're being lied to by the Democrat leadership in DC about the economy, oil and gas prices, food prices, and such, because they're actually buying these items every day themselves and know the truth. And knows without a doubt that the Democrat leadership in Congress is the ones responsible for the government shutdown. Well, if you said both Republicans and Democrats want those things? You're 100% correct. The average American that is a registered Democrat, not a politician, that is just out there working for a living to support their family, put food on the table, raise their kids, take vacations and such, want the same things as Republicans. But their leadership in Congress does not. Why? Because they're being held hostage by the progressive far-left liberals of our society, which in turn has caused the largest mass exit from the party in its history of 197 long years. More registered Democrats are switching to Republican or Independent today than ever before. And the Republican Party is currently gaining more registered voters than ever before in its history of 171 long years. The Democrat Party is lost. It has no real leadership. And what leadership it does have no longer aligns with the voters' values, beliefs, and morals. And if you're a regular Democrat, it's not in politics. It's just out there working a job, trying to raise your family, take care of your bills, be an American patriot. Just the regular registered Democrat out there. And you still haven't switched parties yet to either Republican or Independent, then I challenge you. You got the internet. If you don't have a home PC, well, sure, you got a cell phone, which has the internet. I challenge you to go look up speeches over the last, let's just keep it simple, 4 years, of the following, what I call leaders of the current Democrat Party. And you tell me, after listening to their speeches, which most people don't do, they don't know what they're saying up there in Washington, D.C. They're not paying attention to that because they're trying to raise their family and go to work, take care of their kids, take them to soccer practice, football practice, cheerleading practice, put food on the table. Not listening to what these idiots up there are saying. But if you go and you listen to what's actually coming out of their pie hole, you will realize that those leaders that are controlling the Democrat Party do not align with your values, morals, and your beliefs. And who are the Democrat leaders? Well, Chuck Schumer, for one, Hangam Jeffries, Cory Booker, AOC, Alihan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Premal Jabal, Craig Cesar, Anita Presley, Cori Bush, Jamel Bowman, Barbara Lee, Jamie Raskin, Sheila Jackson Lee, Bernie Sanders, although an independent, he caucuses with the Democrats, Elizabeth Warren, Adam Schiff, Peter Aguilar, Tammy Duckworth, Amy Goldsworth, Kristen Gillibrand. Tammy Baldwin, Jasmine Crockett, the ghetto bitch from hell. Maxine Waters, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hank Johnson, Benny Thompson, and Summer Lee. I want you to go and listen to what is coming out of their mouths about how They don't want secure borders. They don't want MS-13 gang members arrested and deported. They don't want National Guard members supporting local law enforcement in Democrat-run cities where the Democrats aren't allowing law enforcement to control the criminal rate. And they don't give two shits about African Americans, even the ones that are African Americans. And that, my friends, is a fact that you can take all the way to the bank, coming from a 63-year-old former Democrat that grew up and wasted 3/4 of his life in that fucking racist bigot party. That's the same way today. Pick a major metropolitan city in this country where the crime is out of fucking control, and especially in the black communities. And they're all run by Democrats. You can spin it any way you would like. You cannot ever walk away from clear-cut facts. If you are an average, out there working for a living, raising your family, putting food on the table Democrat, and you don't leave that party, I'm not saying become a Republican. Hell, I got a lot of problems with the Republican Party, trust me. I'm saying at least become an independent and do your homework and listen. Actually listen. Pay attention to what is coming out of the mouths of Democrat and Republican members of Congress, or the President of the United States, whether they're a Democrat or Republican. Listen to what's being said. Listen to how they round up their core values. When it comes time to vote, determine for your own self what's best for you and your family. What's going to actually help make your situation in America better. Better than it was yesterday, better than it was last month or last year. Not if they're saying stupid shit like grab a woman in by the crotch. No. Not if they're sending mean, hateful tweets. Nobody elected Donald Trump for that. If that's what you voted on, well, there's something wrong with you. Seriously. They voted for Donald Trump because the other option wasn't an option. Kamala Harris, a laughing hyena that said, quote, I will not change any policies that Biden has done for 4 years. I align myself with all of it. And now says, I wish I'd never said that. Because nobody wanted to continue with 4 years of shit. 4 years of surrendering our military forces to terrorists, like we did in the withdrawal from Afghanistan, that got many more American service members killed, and American citizens for that matter. Nobody wanted to see continuous wars across this country. We wanted somebody that can negotiate. Get in there and talk with Israel. talk with Hamas, try and end this freaking conflict in Gaza and Palestine. Hold the terrorists' feet to the fire, literally. Find a way to stop the Russia-Ukraine war. Although it's still going on as I speak, what did Biden do or Harris do in 4 years to try and stop that? Nothing. They wanted it to continue going on. All they did was pump money of arms into Ukraine. No negotiations, not even an attempt to negotiate. That's not what Donald Trump's done. Although he's not got it to stop yet, he's still attempting it. He's still trying. They're still actively engaged in trying to find a way to get Russia to stop this shit. He's met with both sides. He's bringing both sides together here real soon to meet face to face. Zelensky and Putin. Sit down, share a beer, and hash this shit out. Stop this massive killing for no reason. We voted for somebody that stood for supporting law enforcement, not putting a target on their back. We voted for somebody that would secure our border. We voted for somebody that will get rid of these illegal aliens that are taking our benefits and making us pay with our tax dollars for their shit. We voted for somebody that gave a shit about the inner cities of this country run by Democrats that are going to shit in a handbasket. We didn't vote for mean tweets or against mean tweets or where you grab a woman. Or I could go on, I could make a list of 500 things that Donald Trump has said that don't align with my morals, but that ain't why I voted against him or for him. I voted for him because of what he's capable of doing and is doing. He's the first president of the United States of America that ran on a platform of, if you elect me, I will do A, B, C, D, all the way through Z, and is doing it right in front of our eyes. And then the Democrat leadership has the fucking nerve to stand up there and stare into a camera and lie their ass off about how the electorate is switching. They're turning on the Republican Party. They're turning on Donald Trump. And last Tuesday's election was evidence of that. No, you fucking morons. Nobody in their right mind would expect Republicans to win in a Democrat-dominated area, just like you wouldn't expect a Democrat to win in a Republican-dominated area. But you're an idiot. And sadly, those that tune into you and listen to the crap that's coming out of your pie hole are idiots too. And that's sad. There's so much idiots that in many instances, they're cutting off friends and family members because of their political beliefs or who they voted for. Literally. Not having anything to do with their friends or family, even if it's their mom and dad, if they voted for Donald Trump, because he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, he's a Hitler wannabe, he's a dictator, he's going to destroy our country. All the shit that by now they should have figured out isn't true and isn't happening Everything the Democrats claim would happen to this country if you elected Donald Trump the first time didn't happen, and this time isn't happening. But no, that's not what you're doing, is it? Never in my life have I disowned a friend or a family member because they didn't align with my political values. Never, never have I ever canceled them on Facebook, on Instagram, or in everyday life. But the liberal left is doing that. And they came out and actually started telling their people that it's okay to not show up for Christmas or Thanksgiving if your parents voted for Donald Trump. It's okay to not associate with any of your friends or any of your family members if they voted for Donald Trump. That is batshit crazy on Hunter Biden crack and steroids. Never in my wildest imaginations would I have ever thought that I would do something that fucking dumb. But the liberal left is doing it in massive droves as I speak. It's a mental illness. It's not being addressed. And the last thing I want to leave you with tonight, Americans are better off today than at any time in 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration, and that is a fact. Here's your facts to that statement, besides the fact that I myself, my wife, and my family buy goods every week. A new DoorDash report shows that after years of rising prices, families are spending smarter, small businesses are holding steady, and paychecks are beginning to go further. The inaugural State of Local Commerce report, based on millions of DoorDash transitions, offers a look at how the U.S. economy is shifting on the ground. Who better to show us this than the people picking up these goods and delivering them? To track those shifts, DoorDash analyzed affordability trends through 3 of its key measures: the Everyday Essential Index, what they call the Cheeseburger Index, and the Breakfast Basics Index, which reflect price changes across household goods, restaurant meals, and groceries. The Everyday Essential Index, which monitors the price of staples like toothpaste, shampoo, toilet paper, laundry detergent, pain medicine, and diapers, found that the average cost of these household items has remained largely flat over the past 12 months, while household costs have steadily, fast casual spending has inched slightly higher. DoorDash Cheeseburger Index, which tracks the cost of a classic meal of a burger, fries, and a soda, found prices up just 3.8% over the past year, rising from $17.90 to $18.58 nationally. But it depends on where you're buying those goods. The picture looks very different from city to city, especially depending on who's running that city, Democrat or Republican. State to state, who's running that state, Democrat or Republican. In Lincoln, Nebraska, which has a Democrat mayor, the meal average for a burger, fries, and a soda is $10.75. An analyst of its Breakfast Basic Index, which tracks items like eggs, a glass of milk, a bagel, an avocado, DoorDash found that prices fell 14% between March and September, due in part to declining egg prices. Over the past year, however, the national index has slipped only 1.7%, a gap that highlights how local trends can differ from national averages. That variation, said Jessica Lanch, DoorDash Chief Executive Officer, is a key takeaway from the company's data. I think it's interesting to see that the national averages for a lot of the metrics that we put out, things like cheeseburger index and everyday essential index, those national averages are on data point, but when you actually look city to city, there's a ton of variations. I think that variations from city to city paints a picture that is reflective of just how complicated and how nuanced all of this is, she added. Lynch said that DoorDash aimed to go beyond raw data by using indexes to help people visualize what price changes actually mean in their everyday lives. We wanted to come up with indications or indicators that could translate really complex price data and price trends into something that is relatable and something that is easily understood, and it measures affordability. Things like the cheeseburger index take a common meal and paint a picture of what's happening with prices in the overall economy in a much easier way to understand, she added. The DoorDash report also shows that paychecks are finally gaining ground. Since early 2024, wages have been rising, but in 2025, faster than restaurant prices, meaning American dollars are stretching farther. Across much of the country, wages are outpacing prices, especially in places like Port St. Lucie, Florida, where the mayor is a Republican, and where pay is up 6.1%, and in Madison, Wisconsin, up 4.1%, but that's a Democrat mayor. Still, it's better than it was. The DoorDash findings come as the White House touts progress in bringing down inflation and boosting take-home pay. After inherent an economy catastrophe, President Trump quickly stopped Joe Biden's inflation crisis with a consumer price index at its lowest level in 4 damn years. President Trump's pro-growth policies will continue to supercharge wage growth and drive costs down as president remains laser focused on continuing to make America affordable again and America great again. Think about it. If you live in a Republican state, let's take Louisiana, for instance, where I live. I filled up my boat with gas a couple of days ago for $2.43 a gallon. If I was in California, run by Democrats, it would be double that. If I was in Seattle, Washington, or Portland, Oregon, it would be double that. If I was in any Democrat-run state, you're going to pay more for eggs, milk, your basic groceries, your basic needs, gasoline, oil. Nothing's changed. It's been that way since when I was a Democrat. It was that way when I was working in law enforcement out in California. We paid more because the Democrats taxed the shit out of us to go to liberal ideology ideas of giving free shit to illegals and saving the spotted owl or some fish that nobody's ever seen by cutting off water supplies to places like Palestine, California, and letting it burn to the fucking ground because they had no water to put the fires out. Wake up, Democrats. Stop complaining about how much you're having to pay and it's unaffordable to live, when it's not that way for Republicans in Republican-run states and Republican-run cities, move. Call 1-800-U-Haul and get the fuck out of the Democrat-controlled shithole that you live in. Or continue to pay those huge prices and continue to believe the shit that's coming out of the Democrat leadership up in Washington, D.C. until it drives you fucking insane like they are. And that, my friends, is a fact. I literally love, paying lower prices for everything that I buy in Republican states compared to Democrat states. There's an easy fix to this shit. Move or switch parties and vote those motherfuckers out of office. That will fix your problem and stop your whining, bitching, and complaining about the orange man and how Donald Trump is destroying your life. No, Donald Trump's not destroying shit. You're destroying your life by voting Democrats into office. And speaking of destroying lives, New York, you fucked yourself last week. Literally. Now, lie in your welderling shit while the rest of us laugh our ass off and literally stop going there on vacations. Literally. Why would we want to go to some place where you voted in a far-left liberal socialist, communist, anti-American terrorist sympathizer? Who in the right mind does that? No one. Absolutely no one. Those people in New York City are not in their right mind. And that is a fact. You have many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. I hope that I shared some light, focused some light on what's really happening with the shutdown, what's happening with the Democrat Party, what's happening with our current state of affairs in our country. If you can literally say that you're not better off today than you were under the 4 years of Biden-Harris, that's because you're a fucking multimillionaire and you don't give a shit about what it costs. You just don't. The rest of us, we're not stupid. I'll be back on Thursday for another show. I hope that you will join me. Hope you will share this with your family and friends. Whether you're watching us tonight on the YouTube channel, Rumble channel, X channel, please like, subscribe, share it with your family and friends. Also, check out DouglasDucote.com, our website. If anything breaks between now and Thursday of major importance, I will either do a video about it or I will come on and do a live program. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful night, wonderful Wednesday tomorrow, hump day. I'll see you back here on Thursday. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America, and may God bless each and every one of you. Good night, my friends.